So we've recently received a lot of the information of what we can expect for Dune Awakening on launch, including things like the release date, the pricing of the game, the pricing of all of the different versions of the game, what comes in all of those different versions, and what we can expect for the monetization of the game going forward, including a look at some future content. So I want to go over some of the more specific information on this, including pricing, including the season pass, and some of those future pieces of content. Now, I went over some of this information in one of my previous videos, but we didn't have all of the specifics of this information. In particular, we didn't exactly know what would be in the DLCs going forward for Dune Awakening, and now we do have a chunk of that information. So this video is also kind of a part two to one of my previous videos. So Dune Awakening is going to be releasing on May 20th of this year, so around 6 weeks from now, and it's only going to be releasing on PC first. There is going to be console versions of the game at some point in the future, and this is not going to be launching in an early access state. This is going to be launching as a fully finished live service game, which is kind of an oxymoron because live service games are generally never finished, but it's not going to be like a Steam early access game. And their monetization strategy is going to be pretty similar to their previous game, Conan Exiles. It's going to be a buy-to-play game with multiple different versions that give you different things, primarily a lot of additional cosmetics. They haven't fully described this yet, but it also still does seem like they're going to have a cosmetic shop where you can just buy single or groups of cosmetics. And then there are also going to be purchasable DLC, which is still an area that we don't have all of the information for, but we will be going over all of that information, and a majority of the future updates of Dune Awakening are going to be free, just free new content, but some of the DLCs may throw a wrench a little bit into that. So to simplify it, it's kind of just a buy-to-play game where you can also buy cosmetics and a little bit of extra content. And Dune Awakening is going to have 3 different versions you can buy on launch. There's the base game for $49.99, there's the deluxe edition for $69.99, and there's the ultimate edition for $89.99. And these 3 editions all come with a bunch of different items, a lot of the stuff you would expect from higher tier versions of a game, most of it being cosmetics. Now for all 3 editions, you get the base game and you get a couple of pre-order bonuses. The 2 pre-order bonuses that you get for every edition is the Terrarium of Muad Dib, which is just this cosmetic item with the kind of rabbit looking creature within it. It is animated, so it looks pretty cool. Just a cosmetic item you get to put into your base to just customize your base more. There's going to be the Sunset Dye Global Swatch, which is also pretty interesting. There are going to be these dye swatches, which is basically a full recolor of whatever item it's for. Kind of something similar to shaders of Destiny 2, where instead of dyeing a particular item exactly how you want it, it's this swatch or shader of dyes that it applies the colors to that item. Now, some of the swatches we already know about for Dune Awakening are for specific items. This sunset dye is global, so it can be used on absolutely everything. So that's probably going to be pretty enticing for a pre-order. And another one of the pre-order bonuses is a 5-day head start, so you can play on May 15th, but this pre-order bonus is not for the standard version. So to get the head start, you need to buy the deluxe or ultimate edition. And there's a few things to note with this head start. Like I mentioned, Dune Awakening isn't going to be launching in an early access state, but you can pay for the higher tier versions of the game to get this 5-day early access. But after that 5-day early access on the launch for everybody else, there will be fresh start servers. So probably a majority of the people that didn't get the early access will be playing on those. You'll still be able to start over if you want to, even if you got the early access on the fresh start servers. It's just to make sure that people who didn't get the head start aren't going up against people who just literally have more playtime on that world. Even though they'll have more experience, at least you'll all be starting together when it comes to actually progressing your character. And then one of the most important pieces of getting the higher tier versions of the game is the season pass, part of the deluxe and ultimate edition. And the season pass will give you the first 4 DLCs. Now you will be able to buy every one of those DLCs piecemeal if you want. It'll probably be cheaper to buy it in one of these bigger versions of the game. And we will be going over everything we know about those later in the video as well. And on top of everything we've gone over, you will also be getting getting the Sardaukar Batter armor as the deluxe edition. So everything we've gone over plus that armor. And keep in mind that armor is just cosmetic, but it does look really cool. You're not actually going to be buying any gear or anything like that from any of these different versions. And then we get to the Ultimate Edition. So everything else we're going over is only going to be in the Ultimate Edition of the game. So you'll be getting the Caladan Palace building set, which is a bunch of different building pieces. These do seem to be much smaller, more interior building pieces, and none of these are like utility things or production stations or anything like that. I think it's like some tables, some chairs, a bunch of little things you can put on tables or chairs to customize more. So if you're somebody that really likes that side of survival games, fully customizing your base, making it feel like a house or something, this is probably something you'll really like. You'll get the Dune 2021 film still suit. So that's a cosmetic to look like the still suit from the newest Dune films, a digital art book, a digital soundtrack, the Blue Dasher Ornithopter swatch. So again, a full dye of an ornithopter, and the Dusk Rider Sandbike swatch, which is a full dye for the Sandbike. So primarily just a bunch of additional cosmetics and the digital art book and soundtrack. And like we went over, buying the 2 higher tier versions of the game, you'll be able to get the season pass out of that, or at some point you'll also just be able to buy the season pass by itself, or you'll just be able to buy DLCs one at a time if you want those as well. I don't think we currently know the price of individual DLCs or the season pass itself. Presumably the season pass would be $20 or $25, and we're not sure on every price of the DLC by themselves. But we do already have some information on the first 4 DLCs, starting with the Wildlife of Arrakis. This is coming May of this year as well. I think it's actually coming on launch, and this is described as cosmetics. Decorate your base with statues of the prominent wildlife of Arrakis, including Shai Hulud himself, which is a sandworm. So these are just cosmetic statues you can put into your bases. They seem to be really cool. I think they're also quite big. So again, just more cosmetics. That's going to be a very big way they continue to monetize the game, selling you just tons of cosmetics to customize your bases or any of your items even more. Then we have Lost Harvest. This is coming October to December 2025, so sometime this year. And this will include side story and cosmetics. A stranded harvester, a desperate crew, a secret that has been buried for over 10,000 years. And we just get an image with this, so we don't know the cosmetics. We don't really know anything about the side story. But what's interesting about this is that this is specifically just seemingly a like side quest that is based upon some story or lore. So there's not really anything that seems to be really gameplay impacting from this. It's just an additional quest that I would presume isn't really going to give you much or anything special, maybe some like additional resources or experience or something, but this is seeming to be primarily for additional story elements instead of being like some super important quest that gives you something really good. Then we have Raiders of the Broken Lands coming January to March of 2026, and this is described just as cosmetics. The Broken Lands are shattered plains of broken rock known for their fearsome raiders, so this just seems to be a bunch of additional cosmetics, maybe like a full building set of cosmetics or something else like that. And then finally we have the most interesting one. We have the Water Wars. This is coming April to June of 2026. This doesn't have a descriptor, and it says water is life. The water shipper families are at war, fighting for control of the polar caps of Arrakis. Now this may be another side quest. We don't exactly know because we haven't gotten it described if there's going to be any super integral pieces of content in the DLC, like new areas or anything like that. It kind of sounded like it was only going to be some of these side story quests and cosmetics. But what's really interesting out of this is that we already know we were going to the polar caps of Arrakis at some point in the future. That's something the developers seem pretty excited about because it allows them to take the players to somewhere very different than the rest of Arrakis we will have been exploring up until that point. So the polar caps will be something super interesting, and this does sound like it's explaining some side story quests as well. Just we now know that during this point, so April to June of 2026 or before that, we will have an update to go to the polar caps, and presumably the polar caps will be just a free update to the game. I seriously doubt they're going to be selling a big new area as specifically part of a DLC when it seems like they want the DLC to be much more optional and to not have integral pieces of new content within them. So presumably it's going to be another like side story quest and possibly some cosmetics as well. And that's pretty much all the information we have on what we can expect for the launch of Dune Awakening, their monetization strategy, all of the different prices for the game on launch, and pretty much everything you need to know if you're looking to purchase Dune Awakening either on launch or after, and what you can expect for the monetization going forward. And also keep in mind, it does seem like there is going to be a cosmetic shop where you'll be able to buy a bunch of different cosmetics. That just hasn't been fully described yet, but selling cosmetics for a live service game is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to monetize a live service game. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.